What if the truth of who you are has been flowing silently through you this entire time, hidden not in your thoughts, but in your blood? Have you ever truly considered that those two simple letters on your medical chart, AB, or O, might carry more than just biological meaning? Could they be the echo of something more ancient, more symbolic, and more soul-deep than we've ever been taught to believe? Carl Jung, the father of analytical psychology, once said that the most powerful truths are often disguised as the most ordinary things. He taught us that symbols surround us, embedded in dreams, in instincts, in the body itself, and that what we overlook often holds the very key to the unconscious. What if your blood type isn't just a classification for transfusions, but a sacred imprint? A hidden code passed down through generations, a living language through which your soul quietly speaks. Imagine that within the quiet rhythm of your heartbeat, your blood is not only circulating nutrients, but also carrying memories, ancestral stories, unconscious drives, and spiritual imprints. Picture your blood not as mere biology, but as myth in motion. What if this vital force holds a mirror up to your inner world, revealing your instinctual patterns, your emotional resonance, even the kind of energies you attract and repel? Throughout history, blood has been seen as sacred. From ancient rituals to modern medicine, it has symbolized life, death, sacrifice, and rebirth. It is the red river that connects lineage to destiny, instinct to identity. Jung believed that the body and the psyche were two sides of the same coin, interwoven, inseparable, and always speaking in symbols. He did not write directly about blood types, but his work laid the perfect foundation to explore this idea. In Japan, the concept of ketsueki gata, that your blood type influences your temperament, is not dismissed as superstition, but embraced as a meaningful lens into human nature. It aligns with Jung's archetypal vision of the human soul expressing itself through every facet of our existence, even our physical form. So, I invite you to consider, what if your blood type is not just data in a file, but a doorway, a map, a psychic fingerprint of your inner architecture, a sacred signature from the collective unconscious, etched not in ink, but in iron and oxygen? As we explore the hidden link between blood and soul, prepare to see yourself through a symbolic lens few dare to look through. The body remembers what the mind forgets, and your blood, this quiet, faithful river, may be the most intimate oracle you've never listened to. Are you ready to hear what it's been trying to say? In a world that often rewards loudness and speed, there exists a quieter force, steady, precise, and deeply rooted in the soul. This is the essence of those with type A blood. At first glance, it may seem like a label on a chart, a simple classification for medical purposes. But beneath the surface, type A carries a psychic signature, an archetypal blueprint aligned with the timeless energy of the sage. These are the individuals whose lives are shaped not by chaos, but by an ancient longing for harmony, order, and depth. Carl Jung taught that we are born with symbolic patterns etched into our unconscious, and some souls come into this world carrying the archetype of the meticulous architect. For type A individuals, this expresses itself not only through behavior, but as a deep inner instinct, the need to bring structure to the formless, clarity to confusion, and peace to what feels uncertain. It isn't about neatness for its own sake. It's a sacred ritual. Whether straightening a crooked frame, carefully arranging a schedule, or quietly reviewing a plan for the 100th time, this is your way of grounding reality, of whispering back to life, "You can make sense." You likely feel it often, the quiet pull to improve, to correct, to refine. While others may overlook the details, you see them as portals, possibilities, places where something can be perfected. This tendency is not born from control, but from care. Jung would say this is the judging function turned inward, not in the moral sense, but as a deep devotion to internal alignment. You seek wholeness not only outside you, but within you. And because of this, others often come to rely on you. You're the one who remembers what they forgot, who sees the flaw before it breaks, who quietly holds the structure together. But as Jung reminded us, every gift casts a shadow. The very instincts that bring peace can also create pressure. That same high standard, when turned inward without awareness, can harden into quiet self-criticism. You may find yourself lying awake, questioning whether you did enough, whether you missed something, whether your silence was mistaken for distance. This is the double-edged sword of the perfectionist, a soul that seeks purity, but must be careful not to mistake perfection for love. Jung called this the shadow of introverted judgment, when the inner critic grows louder than the inner guide. And yet, within this tension lies transformation. To become conscious of your shadow is not weakness. It is the beginning of self-trust. The same compassion you so often extend to others must also be offered inward. Your strength is not just your precision, it is your ability to pause, reflect, and realign. In doing so, you don't lose your integrity, you deepen it. In relationships, your loyalty runs deep. You are not one for shallow connections or fleeting bonds. When you choose to let someone into your life, it is with a sense of devotion that is rare in today's world. You bring stability to the people you love. You show up, you remember, you care. But loyalty, too, has its cost. In your pursuit of peace, you may sometimes sacrifice your own voice. Keep the peace too long, and it becomes silence. Jung would say this is the sage's temptation, to preserve outer order while neglecting the wild, living truth within. Your path, then, is not just about maintaining order, it is about allowing your voice to be part of that order. You are not here to disappear inside the structure, you are here to shape it with your presence. Even your silence speaks, but your truth must be spoken too. And so, if you carry type A blood, know this: your soul holds the blueprint of a quiet alchemist, one who turns complexity into clarity, tension into wisdom, and loyalty into a sanctuary. You are not here to be perfect, you are here to be whole. Have you ever wondered why some people cannot seem to follow a straight path? Why they resist rules that others quietly accept? Or why they carry a fire in their eyes when speaking of dreams others abandoned long ago? These are often the ones with type B blood, the rare souls who do not fit into society's neat categories. In the world of archetypes, Carl Jung would recognize them instantly. They are the explorers, the rebels, the ones who are not content with what is, but are compelled by what could be. Where others seek structure, they crave space. Where others settle, they soar. To understand the soul of a type B individual is to look beyond behavior and see the archetypal script written into their psychic bloodstream. These are not merely creative people. They are driven by a deeper psychological impulse, what Jung called the transcendent function, a psychic bridge between the conscious and unconscious, the known and the unknown. Type B individuals move between worlds not by chance, but because they were born with the instinct to roam. Their curiosity is not a distraction, it is their compass. In daily life, this energy shows up as a refusal to be boxed in. They thrive in environments that allow reinvention. While others fear change, type B feels most alive in it. Their soul recognizes that truth is not static, but evolving, and so must they be. Are you someone who feels drained by repetition, but ignited by discovery? Do you often feel that staying in one place too long dulls something sacred within you? This is not weakness. It is your soul's longing to expand beyond what has already been defined. Jung would have seen this not as immaturity, but as individuation in motion. Relationally, these individuals offer a raw authenticity. They do not wear masks easily. They do not speak in pleasantries unless they mean it. They want the truth, yours and theirs. But this honesty comes at a cost. The freedom they protect can feel threatening to those who long for predictability. Love, for them, must be a landscape of mutual exploration, not a fortress of control. And so, they often walk the tightrope between closeness and autonomy, knowing deep down that true connection can only blossom in the soil of freedom. Professionally, Type B individuals often feel like misfits in rigid systems, yet they are the visionaries who can see 10 steps ahead while others focus on checklists. Jung would say they embody psychological flexibility, a rare capacity to hold opposites without collapse. They do not just adapt to change, they invite it. And in a world that prizes conformity, this is both a blessing and a burden. Their restlessness, if unexamined, can become a shadow, causing them to start many things but complete few. But when this energy is owned and integrated, it becomes a sacred fuel. A reminder that not all journeys are meant to be linear. Some are spirals that return to deeper truths. And yes, this life can feel lonely at times, like walking a path no one else sees. But that solitude is not a punishment. It is a rite of passage. Jung believed that those who carry the light must first endure the dark. So if you often feel like the only one dancing to music no one else hears, take heart. That rhythm is the pulse of your soul. That music is the whisper of your calling. Your blood may not define you, but it does invite you to question, to wander, to reimagine. Type B is not a diagnosis. It is a door. And behind that door is the part of you that still believes in what's possible, that refuses to give up wonder, that knows, deep down, your path is not meant to be followed. It is meant to be created. In a world increasingly drawn to black and white absolutes, few carry the sacred burden of nuance as gracefully as those with blood type AB. At merely 4% of the population, your presence is rare, not just biologically, but psychologically. Jung would have seen you not as an outlier, but as a living embodiment of the conjunctio oppositorum, the mystical union of opposites that marks the path toward individuation. Yours is the archetype of the mediator or diplomat, one who bridges the unconscious with the conscious, the emotional with the rational, the self with the other. It is not simply a personality trait, it is a psychic architecture. Within you flows both the A and B antigens, and this duality is not merely chemical, it is symbolic. Where others might feel torn between identities, you often feel both at once. You may notice that you shift tones depending on who you're with, not out of manipulation, but out of a natural sensitivity to what the moment requires. Jung would not call this fragmented. He would call it fluid individuation, the ability to be many without being lost. And yet, this gift can be misunderstood. You're likely the one who listens to both sides of an argument and feels the pain in both. You don't pick sides easily because truth is rarely one-sided. Your mind may carry what Jung called a perceiving function that leans toward the intuitive, sensing the emotional undercurrents that others miss. It's not indecision, it's discernment. It's not inconsistency, it's complexity. You hold opposites in the same breath and do not need to resolve them to feel whole. This, Jung would say, is the soul's rarest ability. In practical life, this may make you the peacemaker in relationships, the synthesizer in teams, the one who can decode emotional languages that others never learn to speak. But beware, the shadow of this gift is real. The same adaptability that allows you to read others so well may also cause you to lose your own reflection. If you've ever felt invisible in a room full of people you were helping, it's because your archetype absorbs and mirrors. Jung would warn that the mirror must sometimes be wiped clean so that the self can emerge from behind the reflection. Your creativity may not always be linear or logical. Instead, it moves like water, forming connections between seemingly unrelated thoughts. This aligns with what Jung called active imagination, the sacred inner dialogue where new symbols arise and old ones dissolve. You are not meant to follow a straight path. You are meant to braid realities together, intuition with intellect, emotion with reason, silence with expression. In the professional world, your presence is a balm. You instinctively decode nuance, speak in subtleties, and bridge cultural or interpersonal divides. But even here, Jung would caution, your work must serve your wholeness, not just your adaptability. You are not here to disappear into others' expectations. You are here to become a self so integrated that no contradiction can undo it. Jung reminds us that individuation isn't about eliminating complexity, it's about embracing it consciously. Your duality is not a flaw. It is an encoded invitation to become a container for paradox, to bring the polarities of the world into conversation rather than conflict. And in a society starving for nuance, your quiet ability to hold tension without collapsing into certainty may be one of the most vital soul gifts of our time. There is a reason why Type O individuals often carry an air of instinctual certainty, a primal confidence that moves before words are formed. In Jungian terms, this is not mere personality, but a psychic inheritance. Type O, the most ancient of blood types, speaks symbolically to the earliest stirrings of the human collective unconscious. It is the warrior archetype made flesh, a living echo of the original human blueprint. When you act without hesitation, when you step forward while others falter, you are not being rash. You are answering an inner summons that predates language, born of centuries of survival, protection, and forward motion. This blood type, carried by nearly half the world, is not just a biological fact, but a symbolic link to our evolutionary roots. Carl Jung would see this not as a coincidence, but as an archetypal truth emerging through the body. You may notice in moments of urgency that clarity descends without thought. Where others deliberate, you act. That is not impulsiveness. It is the voice of the ancient hero archetype alive within you, whispering through instinct rather than reason. In the Japanese Ketsueki Gata tradition, Type O is seen as confident, resilient, and built for leadership. These traits mirror what Jung identified as the judging function, the psychological ability to move with inner conviction rather than external approval. You likely don't need elaborate roadmaps to act. Your internal compass is honed not through logic alone, but through a deep-seated sensing function that connects you to the terrain beneath your feet and the moment unfolding before your eyes. You might notice in relationships that your presence brings a bracing clarity. You do not conceal your thoughts behind veils. You speak them. Jung would call this the healthy expression of the thinking-sensing axis, a combination that prefers truth over pleasantry, direction over ambiguity. And though your honesty may feel sharp to some, it often earns the trust of those who seek stability in times of chaos. Yet, as with all archetypes, the warrior contains a shadow, The same energy that empowers bold action can also tip into impatience, rigidity, or control. When this occurs, it is not a flaw, it is an invitation to growth. Jung believed that wholeness only comes when we face and integrate our least developed functions. For type O, this often means making space for stillness, ambiguity, and the complexity that resists being solved. In careers, your archetype finds its rhythm in leadership, emergency, strategy, and sport environments where clarity and confident execution are not only valuable, but essential. Jung would say, this is your sensing, thinking function at its highest octave, capable of cutting through noise to act from a place of grounded truth. But even more remarkable is your evolving relationship with time. Many type O individuals find that as they mature, their edges soften. The quick impulse begins to include reflection. Jung would see this as individuation unfolding, the process of integrating what was once hidden or underdeveloped. You begin to sense that not every battle requires a sword. Some require silence, patience, or grace. So when you feel that inner push, that unmistakable urgency to act when others retreat, know that this is not merely personal, it is mythic. It is the call of the inner warrior, echoing across generations, inviting you not just to conquer, but to embody the fullness of your power. In Jung's view, symbols like the warrior exist not to trap you in identity, but to awaken you to your potential, not to limit you, but to guide you toward wholeness. In the quiet margins of what science calls your blood type lies a symbol far more mysterious than most realize, the Rh factor. Often reduced to a simple positive or negative marker, this subtle distinction rarely stirs much attention. Yet, from a Jungian lens, it becomes something far more symbolic. Carl Jung taught us that life's smallest traits, when contemplated with care, often conceal great archetypal meaning. Just as a dream detail, a bird, a color, a glance might reveal an entire emotional pattern, so too might the Rh factor whisper something essential about how your soul relates to the world. Those who carry Rh-positive blood, which makes up the vast majority of humanity, tend to possess a deep, unconscious resonance with the collective. There is something tribal in their energy, something innately attuned to the needs and rhythms of the group. In Jungian terms, this aligns closely with the archetype of the caregiver, or the everyman. These individuals often find comfort in shared belonging. Their intuition leans outward, sensing emotional undercurrents in the room, offering their presence as a kind of anchor to others. They are often the unseen glue in families, teams, and communities, those who ease tension, restore harmony, and carry the burdens others overlook. This instinctive connection to the tribe can become both a gift and a temptation. The gift of empathy and the temptation to lose oneself in the crowd. On the other side, the Rh negative individual moves through life with a quiet sense of being different, not in a rebellious way, but in a deeply internal one. There may be a faint sense of standing slightly apart, observing life from a distance, even while participating in it. Jung might describe this energetic pattern as aligned with the hermit or the seer, the archetypes that guard the inner flame of solitary insight. These souls often carry a fierce independence, a knowing that cannot be easily explained, and a longing for truth unclouded by convention. They often feel more attuned to silence than to noise, more drawn to meaning than to motion. In them, the longing is not for group approval, but for inner congruence. Yet Jung would caution us against using any symbol, be it dream, image, or blood type, as a rigid definition of the self. Archetypes are not cages, they are mirrors. Whether you belong to the rhythm of the many or carry the frequency of the few, your RH factor is not your fate. It is an invitation. It reflects your orientation, your natural starting point, but never your limit. The goal, Jung said, is integration, to honor what is instinctive while evolving what is possible. A person deeply bonded to the collective must learn solitude. A visionary must remember the heartache of human connection. Your blood, with all its unseen traits, carries the myth of your becoming. The RH factor, this quiet symbol within you, is neither a prophecy nor a prescription. It is a whisper, a clue, a door. Will you use it to stay the same or to see yourself more clearly? That is the real question. Jung reminded us that nothing in life becomes powerful until we see it with symbolic eyes. Your task is not to wear your type like a name tag, but to transform it into meaning, and the meaning, always, is yours to create. In the end, the silent code written in your blood is not here to confine you, it is here to awaken you. Carl Jung often reminded us that the symbols life hands us are not random. They are mirrors and gateways. But a symbol only gains power when we truly see it, when we allow it to speak not just to the intellect, but to the soul. Your blood type, along with the faint whisper of the RH factor, is not a rigid script dictating who you must become. It is an ancient language echoing through the corridors of your being, asking you to listen more deeply to what is already within. These biological signatures are less like labels and more like constellations, small, luminous clues pointing toward the larger myth you are meant to live. When you begin to reflect on these quiet messages inside you, something stirs. You are not just a person with a classification, you are a living symbol, a blend of ancestry, emotion, instinct, and choice. The purpose of knowing your blood type is not to box you into a role, but to offer you a lens through which to understand your patterns, your preferences, your inner pulls. What you do with that awareness is what makes it meaningful. For Jung, it was never about what fate gave you. It was always about what you did with it. Destiny, he said, is not found. It is forged. And so the real question is not what your blood type says about you, but how willing you are to hear its metaphor. Will you let these markers become excuses, or will you let them become invitations? Will you cling to identity as something final, or will you use it as a starting point to evolve, to grow, to integrate what has been hidden? The mystery is not in the facts, but in the meaning you are brave enough to create. You are not here to be defined by a chart or a category. You are here to become something only you can be. And every detail, even the ones science deems small, can become sacred if you choose to make them so. Your blood is not your prison. It is your poem. It carries the voice of ancestors, the memory of instincts, and the possibility of transformation. So pause and ask yourself this. Will you ignore the symbolic language pulsing through your veins? Or will you let it open a door to the deeper truth of who you are? Because in the end, as Jung would say, the choice to awaken always belongs to you. If this touched something sacred inside you, don't let it fade into silence. Like this video, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Your presence here is not just support, it's resonance. And if you feel moved to give back, your donation becomes a quiet but powerful gesture that helps keep this light alive for others still walking in the dark.